All right, I am taking a piece of furniture, and actually, interestingly enough, this is a newer piece of furniture. It is a high-end sofa table from one of the, high-end furniture places. I happened to buy four of them from somebody. They were going out of business, and I bought all four of them. Now, in order to get paint to stick to a shiny surface thing, I went ahead and scuff sanded this piece really well because I really want the paint to be able to stick. Just always try to do that if you have a shiny surface. It will help your paint to stick. Now, what I'm doing here is I took black chalk paint and I mixed it with salt wash. I will go ahead and put the link for the salt wash in the comment section, description of the video. That way you can order it. It is a texture additive. What I did was I mixed it into my black paint. What that did was give me I did it to like a brownie consistency or a thick cookie batter consistency. I don't measure, I just pour paint, I add salt wash. It is a powder. I am sorry that I am not showing you what it looks like here. But I will show it in a couple more steps. We'll be using it again. It's an amazing texture additive. Dixie Belle has a similar one called Sea Spray. Miss Lillian's has a similar one called Texture Magic. They are all powder form texture additives. So I've basically mixed the salt wash into my paint. I am using a really fat brush. There it is. And I was just stippling it on. I wasn't actually brushing it. I was stippling it on. Now, we've got all that done. We've put one coat of paint down. We let that dry. We put a second coat of just over the top. I didn't texture it again. I didn't need that much texture. I just went ahead and quickly put a second coat of black paint over the top without the additional salt wash. Now I am taking salt wash and just dropping it by the spoonful or the cupful on top of my piece while the paint is wet. Following me yet? While the paint is wet. This is going to be our resistive layer, and I'm going to do it. This is the bottom of the piece, same thing. The paint is wet, so it kind of acts as a glue, right? Then you're going to drop it over the top, and then you're going to spray the water so it really sticks, right? You're going to wait probably for a good 4 or 5 hours before you paint over the top of this. I was thinking, oh, I should try to put this on the drawers. And then I threw it. Well, it's not always hard. It's not always advisable. So, dummy, take the drawers out. Yep, sometimes I don't think. I'm guilty of it just as much as the next person. But on the sides of this piece, I did have to kind of throw it up. And it does work. I need to invent something that you know what I should get? Like a turkey baster. Like suck it in and I bet you that would work. I'll have to try that. So I took the drawer out. We're putting some salt wash down, just kind of on the edges, not a ton. I don't really need a ton on this piece. We're just going to add a little bit here and there. The paint is wet. We are putting it on. Like I said, the black paint is already acting like a glue. We're going to spray it so that it stays in place. We're going to let that dry. I grabbed some orange. This is just a chalk paint orange. And we're going to go ahead and do a layer right over what we just did. Of course, it's been dried for hours. It might even be the next day. It really needs to dry well. The salt wash will stay wet for probably 2 to 3 hours. I'm in a very dry climate, so it'll be way different if you're on the other side of the U.S. and you have a lot of humidity. It may take a lot longer, so just adjust for your climate. Like I said, I'm in Idaho, so we're high desert. We're very, very dry. No humidity here. So just take that into consideration when you're painting. So I am putting the orange over the top. Orange and black. No, it wasn't Halloween. I thought the orange and the black would be two striking colors and actually be beautiful. I wanted somebody to have a bright entryway, right? How beautiful would an entryway table be with this gorgeous bright orange? I would love it in my home. So going ahead and putting a coat of paint over the top. When we go over the top of the areas that we have the salt wash, we're going to kind of pounce instead of brush over those areas because that will allow the salt wash to not become dislodged from the piece, okay? You don't really want to disturb the salt wash too much and make it dislodge. So I'm just going to, when I get to those areas that have thick salt wash, I'm pouncing them, as you can see here. Just pouncing, pouncing, pouncing. We're going to do this on the whole entire piece, the legs, the drawers, the sides, everywhere. We're going to go ahead and get our paint on. I would recommend you doing 2 coats of your final color because, as you can tell on the top, you see where it looks a little streaky. That's how it's supposed to look, but then you would do a 2nd coat over the top. So we're going to cover this. I am going to paint right over my knobs, and actually I did end up taking the knobs off because it's very hard to paint behind the knobs. So, but I did actually just paint them the same color as the piece. I thought it was a good idea. Going to pounce over that salt wash so we don't dislodge it, because if we dislodge it, we're just going to paint right over the black and then you won't even be able to see anything. So we're going to do this for the whole piece. Like I said, 1 coat. Once it's dry, you can quickly put another coat on the top. So you already have 4 coats of paint on this piece. When it is all dry, said and done, it's all dry, like next day, you're going to take a scraper blade. You are going like a putty knife. I use a Purdy putty knife from, like you buy at the Home Depot or paint store. And I'm going to scrape along. Scrape, scrape, scrape. And I am going to scrape where the salt wash was. I'm going to scrape all that up. What it's doing is where you see white, it's actually going to be black. I am taking and disrupting that resistive layer, the salt wash layer. I'm going to do this over the entire piece, the legs, the bottom, the drawers, everything you see. I am going to scrape up. Just don't scrape it so hard that you go down through your paint finish to like the wood. Just run your blade over evenly and just scrape. On the bottom, you can do that too. One thing that I did not film that I did do after I scraped up all the salt washes, I grabbed a piece of sandpaper. I used a 220 grit and I just went over the whole entire piece. And what that did was, remember the first layer we used paint with texture? Well, by taking a piece of sandpaper, what it did is it dislodged and it kind of made the little craters show through. So I sanded down just the little bumps, and underneath the orange was the black. What it does is it created a whole cool texture, kind of like craters of the moon. It's just the coolest thing. And just took a piece of sandpaper, and then what that did is if I had any rough edges because I didn't get the salt wash all off or I created too much of a texture, it smoothed it out. But what it did by using 220 is it didn't get rid of the texture, right? It's all about using the right tools in the right way and just doing that. I just take a brush and I kind of brush off the excess salt wash. At this point, if you really want to see where you're at, you could spray some water on here and wipe off the salt wash, because if I were to spray water on here, the salt wash would dissolve and it would be black underneath because that was our base color. Please let me know if it makes sense to you guys. It's really interesting when you tape these videos and then you try to explain how you did it. I hope it's making sense. It's actually a super easy finish with a huge dramatic effect, like a huge dramatic effect when you're done. So just keep scraping. I did go ahead and take a piece of 150 sandpaper after I smoothed out my edges, and I went along the sides, you can see, and I really got more of a distressed. You can see the line around the side where you can see the black shine through. The 150 would rip the finish a little bit more. You can see now that I'm adding wax. I personally love wax over chalk paint. I am using Wise Owl's Chalk Synthesis Wax, which is my absolute favorite wax of all time. It is an oil-based wax. It is super smooth. It is super creamy. I didn't even use Wise Owl paint to paint this with, but the wax goes over the chalk paint with no problem. It just really does a great job. So it's hard to see on this, but you're going to want to get wax into all those little crevices where we had dropped the salt wash. You can see the black coming up, right? If you look at the top of the screen, you can see where I stopped the wax. You can see where you do it. You're going to take a microfiber cloth and you're going to really buff in that wax. Make sure that you buff your wax. When you do that and you feel the top of your piece, it is smooth as butter. I am not kidding you. It is the most satisfying thing because it's super, super smooth. So you see where I waxed and where I didn't wax. You can see it. It's very hard on camera. So we're going to do clear wax on the drawers and the sides and everything. Just a reminder, when you're chalk painting, always put clear wax down before you do any decorative dark waxes, black, even white, dark brown, gray. It is how you will protect your finish. Now, basically, it kind of sets the orange and makes it so that if you put a dark wax over the top now, you'll be able to adjust how dark the color is. So when I add the dark wax, if I had not put a clear wax first, it acts as a barrier. I would not be able to remove the dark wax. Crazy, right? So we've just put clear wax down and we wiped it back. I'm going to grab my dark wax and my go-to brown wax. This is called Dark. It's the color by DIY Paint. Love this stuff. I am going to follow. Do you see there's what I call them is reveals, kind of the corners in the piece, and just follow along with those. You're thinking, oh God, look at that, ugly, right? If I hadn't put clear wax down, it would look like this, and I wouldn't be able to kind of smush it in and get it to really blend into the piece and make it look feathery. What this does is it gives us dimension that we don't have when we don't add these little details. I'm going to take that same microfiber cloth that I was using and I'm going to wipe back that brown wax. Do you see now what happens? Now we're looking like into, right? It's not flat anymore. It's got depth. I did decide that in the middle, there was a little too much brown wax. So what I did was dip my rag back into my clear wax and wipe the middle. Do you see how much brighter it is? You can see it on the film. It's just a good way to erase. If I hadn't put clear wax down as my first layer, guess what? You wouldn't be able to do this. It would just be that harsh dark and it wouldn't come off. So remember, you guys, always clear wax first. Or if you like to do top coats, you can do that too. But I personally, for me and what I do, is I love to wax over paint. It is my go-to. A lot of people don't like it, but I absolutely love the look of it and how soft it is and how beautiful it makes my pieces look. And no, you do not have to apply wax every 6 months. That is such a wise tale. It is not true. Not true at all. I have pieces in my home for 7 years and I've never applied wax and they're still just as durable. I mean, more wax. So don't listen to what they say. So now we're going to do this in the front drawers. You'll really be able to see. See where that salt wash was? Right when you go over it, it kind of just dissolves it with the wax, right? Isn't that like magic? Oh my God, I love this part. I love watching this back. Like I just do it all the time, but when I get to watch it, it's like, oh, so fun. Love this stuff. So clear wax, Wise Owl's clear wax. And I will link all of these resources in the description so that you guys can order. I do retail. I have a retail store in Nampa, Idaho. You can order from me online. Everything that I use here, if it is out of stock, you can send me a message and I will let you know when it comes back in stock. Because generally what happens is whenever I drop a video, I sell out of most of the products that I use. I do order every week, so I get more stuff in constantly, so don't be discouraged. I'm just putting clear wax and I'm really working it into those corners and grooves, right? Because I really want it to just look cool. It's just a little bit, right? It's just a little bit that we're putting to give it this, oomph. The black is kind of showing through. It looks like it's old. We're going to wipe off that extra clear wax and we're going to grab that dark wax. That dark wax is the star of the show. This is the finishing stuff, right? This is where it really comes together because prior to dark wax, It just looks flat. You put this stuff on, and next thing you know, it has depth, it has dimension, it has antique. It just looks phenomenal. And the thing is that you don't, that dark wax, Wysall has it, Dixie Belle has it, DIY has it. Any of them will work. I just really like DIY's dark wax. You just put it on and wipe it off and kind of just make it look like fluffy little clouds, right? Well, it's just a little smushing. I don't have a better word other than smushing it in. What? Put it on, wipe it off. Your finish will not be sticky. Then you buff it all in, and boom, it's going to have a shine. It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be protected. It's going to be very much protected. So this stuff will make your furniture durable. It'll make it hard. You can put, wet glass on it. Shouldn't affect it. I decided I wanted to brighten up the center, so I just dipped my rag in the clear wax and just brighten that center up just a little bit more. If you get a little heavy-handed, just put a little bit over. It'll pull that dark wax right off. So you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this piece. I had so much fun creating it. For more pieces, please subscribe to my channel. I am trying to put out 2 to 3 videos a week. I also have a Facebook page, which is Tona Transformations, Instagram, Pinterest. I have a website, which is tonatransformations.com. It's Tona, T-O-N-A. And my name is Debbie Tona, and I am the owner and furniture artist of Tona Transformations. Do you see the difference in those 2 drawers? Isn't that crazy? Do you see that? Right? Oh my gosh, so much fun. All right, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Here's a little bit of what it looks staged. Sorry, I took the pictures in the wrong format to put on YouTube. But this is what the piece looks like when it was done. You'll have to tap them and blow them up. Don't forget to subscribe. Like I always say when I sign off, go out and be fabulous. Once again, my name is Debbie Tona. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video. Have a great night. Bye-bye.